Hi everybody, Heather here. Welcome back to another Guppies episode review. Today, requested by Leroy Haney Jr. the Gamer, I'm going to be reviewing the running of the Bullfrogs. So Leroy, if you're watching this, I hope you like it. Anyway, here we go. Here's the synopsis. After Gil and Goby bring a tadpole to school, the class learns about the life cycle of frogs. Here's the summary. The show starts off with Molly introducing herself to the audience. However, she is interrupted by Gil once again, who is dressed like a frog, hopping around. Molly attempts to introducing the show, but Gil keeps hopping around and making a ribbit sound. Molly asks the viewers what he is dressed like and soon responds with the answer, a frog. Then Gil started hopping so high that Bubble Puppy slid a swimming pool in his place so that Gil would be soaked. Finally, Molly swam up to Gil and announced that it was time for Bubble Guppies. Goby and Gil were swimming to school today. On their way, Goby spotted a frog in its habitat, a pond. The two friends and Bubble Puppy swam over to get a closer look as the frog dived into the water. Goby said that there were baby frogs in the lake, but Gil didn't see the resemblance. Then he explained that frogs have tails when they're babies and are called tadpoles. Gil and Bubble Puppy were amazed. Goby explained furthermore that when they get older, their tails will turn into legs. Gil thought to show everybody. Goby agreed and got a small container to cut a tadpole to show to the class. He decided to name him Fernando. Later on, the two friends hopped into the classroom like frogs. Goby showed the class Fernando, and they all have exclaimed in amazement. Then Mr. Grouper explained how tadpoles develop through their life. Afterwards, Gil and the Guppies sing the pop song of this episode, Little Froggy. Dima has the shop segment in this episode once again. She owns a place called Frog City, where you can visit different types of frogs in different habitats. Dima directed Una to a tree frog's habitat, the rainforest, and a toad's habitat, the desert. Una explained that some frogs camouflage with their environment. After she finished exploring, Mr. Grouper then announces that it's time for lunch, with Nani getting the lunch joke yet again, popcorn. Later, Molly explained that frogs live in many places in the world, such as ponds, deserts, and rainforests. She was soon interrupted by Gil, was in the same swimming pool trying to seek a frog. He had a butterfly net and a lily pad on top of his head. As he was explaining his plan to Molly, Bubble Puppy came in the pond disguised as a frog to mess with Gil. As the guppy was about to attack, the puppy revealed himself, sending Gil shooting in the air and splashing back into the pond. Afterwards, Goby called the two friends to play frogs with the rest of the class. The guppies were pretending to be different types of frogs. As Goby was hopping around, he greeted Fernando and realized he sprouted legs. And that means he will become a fully grown frog soon, and they can return him to his ponds again. Afterwards, Mr. Grouper called him and the guppies to go outside. So Dima and Nani had this story segment. In this episode, with Gil narrating, Dima is Dr. Froggenstein and Nani is her assistant, Egor. They decided to have a picnic on a very gloomy day in Bubblevania. After they were finished eating, Egor pulled out a pie for him and the doctor to share, but as they were about to eat, a giant fly showed up and started talking gibberish. So the doctor and Egor decided to abandon their picnic and run away, with taking the pie, of course. Later, Dr. Froggenstein and Egor decided to eat their pie in another location. Unfortunately, the fly showed up again, scaring off the two. The doctor commanded her assistant to get the fly swatter, so we got it to put off the basket and tapped it on the fly. Because the fly is a lot larger than a regular fly, it didn't work. It started yelling gibberish words again, and they decided to swim away once again. The doctor was getting fed up with the fly and asked her assistant what to do. Igor decided that they should create a giant frog to eat the fly. Frankenstein loved that idea, so they swam to their laboratory and got to work. Igor got a giant frog egg and placed it on the platform. Then he pulled the lever that took the platform up to the sky to create their frog. The two scientists have to put the frog's life cycle on order, which is egg, tadpole with legs, and then an adult frog. As soon as they were about to finish their frog, the giant fly showed up at the door. Frankenstein commanded Igor to flick the switch on. As he did, a series of lightning bolts started to spark around the tadpole egg. Before they knew it, a giant electric frog was born. Frankenstein finally invited the fly inside and hid behind the giant frog with her assistant. The frog stuck its tongue on the fly and soon it went back in his mouth. Then the fly started to cry. Dr. Frankenstein told him why they create the giant frog, but all he wanted was pie. Then he asked if he could have some, so they all had a picnic. But then the giant frog gets hungry and the giant fly decides to leave. Dima, Gobi, and Una dance to the frog dance. Afterwards, Molly explains that the audience where do frogs live while Gil tries to look after a tree frog. Then Bubble Puppy comes out dressed like a frog and surprises him. Next, the Guppies go to take Fernando back home at the pond. Gil and Gobi, along with the other runners with their frogs, run a track to Frog Pond. Senorana is the announcer, and Senor Repetina gives the updates. The crowd cheers for the runners and the frogs. Along the way, Fernando gets distracted when he sees a fly and starts going after it. But Gil, and Gobi find their way to the pond and say goodbye to Fernando. Molly tells the viewers that she's happy Fernando made it home. Gil and Bubble Puppy appear dressed as flies, trying to attract some frogs. They did attract one, but it was the giant frog from the story segment. They both fled, and Molly giggled, ending the episode. Okay, so I really do like this episode. It was pretty good. I mean, I love the story segment of how it was like a parody like Frankenstein, like Dr. Frankenstein and Igor, his assistant. But with instead of making a Frankenstein monster, it was a giant Franken frog. I thought that was pretty cool. Plus the idea of teaching about the lifestyle of the frog. That was pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie, that was pretty cool. So anyway, I give this episode a 10 out of 10. Leray, if you're watching this, I hope you like this video. I worked so hard to make this. I hope you enjoy. Bye!